Hello, welcome to today's show. This is members only live stream. It will be members only for 4 weeks, and then it will go public to everyone else after that time. So, welcome everyone in the chat and everyone who watches it afterwards. I'm just going to swap us about a little bit. That's better, just so I can see because my camera's like right in the middle of the monitor. So, I just want to say thank you, Nicole, for coming on and co-hosting, and welcome, Brian. Absolute pleasure to have you on. I know we have spoke now and again in chat and on other watching you on other podcasts and what have you. And it's just great to have you on here because the stuff and the knowledge that you have is just boom.
Thank you, Andy and Nicole, and especially all our viewers. And knowing that this is first on your subscription platform, thanks for your viewers who are, subscribing and are ahead of the curve and supporting you two and your work in the movement. Getting to know you, Andy, it's really for me is like our first big, face to face. But I kind of feel like I know you a bit already through our tight knit community, if you will, online. There's a lot of us on there on Facebook or whatever dumpster fire platform. We're all out there to find each other, and I'm glad that we've been linked up for a few months now.
Yeah, definitely. Because then the last time I think we spoke was only briefly. You was on with Jessica Jones, and I was just having a quick chat, and it was a pre-disclosure goings on. The full disclosure now, and you was talking about that and the lead up to it. So as you were saying, that's happened now, and you're on the was it the hangover, the come down from everything that's gone
on. On the one hand, there's no, the come down, because there definitely is a peak of the lead up to the event, bringing together a world-class grouping, and I can share my screen here, and I've got here on my the Facebook, one of our pages, there's a lot of footage from people, and like Miles Johnston, he did a recap. So a lot of recap shows. This is some of the people who did the CE5. It was a really small grouping that night. We barely announced it properly on the beach. Let's see. And then, is it showing my screen yet? I think I did.
No.
Window or screen. Okay, here. Let me pull this up. There we go.
As soon as it's there we go. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. There you go. So this for now it's the 2025 Full Disclosure Now conference, because you're mentioning a bit of a come down. Well, there's almost like a big pick back up because everybody is so excited for next year. We're doing this again, the same dates, July 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th, 4 days and nights. And it's going to be the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday leading up to our sister event, which is the day of being beach kind of gathering of star seeds and light workers for free. So that's an amazing weekend gathering. And so that's our sister event. But for example, here's Johnny Enoch. And Ben of I'm forgetting the name of his show at the moment off the top of my head.
I think I should know that, but I can't remember it either.
Yeah,
there's so many and they're so similar.
He's based out of Miami, and he was doing a lot of work with also our friends Mario Maharas and Alex Liberato with Unscripted Liberation Codes. I'm honestly having part of the come down is keeping track of everybody's shows and their platforms and whatnot. But this is just one of our group photos, and lots of people have been posting. Here's Miles Johnston on the main stage, or the Galactic stage, and he was our finale presenter. It's Rion de Rouen of Team Light. Johnny. You can tell whose photo dump it is by who's mostly prominent in the photos. Sean Bond, he's amazing. And so what it was is our conference, here's the main conference website. We still have the live stream feed is up, for people who want to watch it. We're going to keep that up for the next year at $55 to support the the whole team. Or when we add the second stage recording, we might make it a little bit more, but we want to recoup some of the losses from, I consider this first year was a really kind of expensive dress rehearsal and proof of concept. And it was such an amazing success that now not only does everybody, like 99% of the people, want to come back, they want to come back and bring their friends and family and colleagues. And then the people who weren't there, they're all saying, "Oh, we want to go and come and so we're expecting it to be even bigger and better next year."
Cool.
And it was just amazing.
Familiar faces on there.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a few on there. I don't know who that guy is in the bottom right. I know I've seen him somewhere before. The guy in the funny hat.
Oh, I love the hat.
I know.
Thank you.
So cool. That is so cool. That has got to be, honestly, one of my favorite profile pictures of everyone I know on Facebook.
That's awesome.
Well, I was going to say, your intro for your show here is probably my favorite intro of any show. It's got the music and the graphics. It's bumping. It's not too long. It's entertaining. It gets you in the groove. So it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Andy's really good at that.
I actually did that. Yes, I made that yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So that's part of all the intros from each of the different podcasts that we're doing. And I just thought, rather than having one intro per show or per type of show, I'm going to blend all 4 or all 5 of them now into one intro and just use that for all of, and it shows you what's going on in each thing. So it was the start of the original, which is the Alienate UK, which is this. Then it goes through the other ones. There's the one that me and Tommy does called We Won't Talk About Ghosts. And that's just general chat. There's one that me, Nicole, and Daryl, where we do eerie encounters. So that's like, we just talk about, it don't have to be paranormal, but just talking about weird, creepy stories that we've got. Or we'll talk about a specific topic or subject. And then we've got that Monday Face, which is non-paranormal at all. So we'll have a guest on and they'll talk about what they do, whether it's their job, an interest they've got, a hobby. And then the one that's called That Him and Her podcast, me and the missus are starting to do a podcast. We've not done any yet. We're doing our first one this weekend.
That's going to be so exciting.
Well, I'm happy to do like live or pre-recorded because I've been doing this for so long now.
Yeah.
But she's like, well, we'll try a pre-record and we'll try a live one. And then, we'll do that and then just see what works best for her. I said, I do either.
I like the lives better because the pre-records, you always go back and you second guess yourself. Yeah. Like, how about you, Brian? Do you prefer live?
I like this.
I like the live. No. I like because if you can do the live, you might as well put it out live for your hungry audience and friends who are there to be live for us, and then it's going to get recorded anyway and put up anyway. So it's like, if you can, might as well post it live. And then if not, because I'm not a big fan of like having to go back into a show and edit it. It's like I kind of like to let the record lay where it is, and if I have something to go back and correct, then I try to like at least get it into the record later on.
Yeah. And it's like stuff I have said things that not incriminating myself or anything like that, but I might have said something. It's like, and when I've said it live, it's like I should have worded it different. But then I will come back on and I'll say, when I said this, I can now word it better because I've read a dictionary. It's the same meaning, but I just explain it. It's more the explanation of stuff. I'm not that good at explaining things. I just open my mouth and it comes out.
But the lives they're real, they're raw, like it's unfiltered. It's just people chatting, and you can bring the chat into it and get some real feedback.
I totally agree. Yeah. Now, I know for your audience, I wanted to ask you guys and gals, lady, how familiar over in the UK, at least, are they with the Montauk Project?
Me personally, I'm well into it because it's one of the most fascinating things I've ever heard. So I listened to another podcast called The Belief Hole. So it's 3 brothers from Arizona, and they did a big thing on Montauk Tower and the Montauk Beast. And I learned so much just from that one podcast of how MK Ultra, which started in, was it late mid 60s, going through into the 70s, which was part of the Vietnam War and that, and then the troops coming back and then prisoners, and there's all being experimented on, shall we say. The same guy, something Nichols, I can't remember his first name. He was one of the main guys that was leading MK Ultra. He was the head guy over at Montauk when that kicked him. And then you've got the tower and the cutting the cables and trying to set fire to it all because it opened some sort of portal and this enormous beast was getting through and trying to tear everything apart.
Basically, the plot of Stranger Things.
Yeah, and then everything else in between.
And the producers were told apparently to change the name. They weren't allowed to call it the Montauk Project. The proper military code name is Project Phoenix, I've been told. Or Phoenix Project. And then, so they named it Stranger Things. They're going into their 5th season, probably making gazillions of dollars. And they have not acknowledged the project nor the survivors, which is really who, my and so many others in our community, that's our focus. And then rallying the survivors together with everybody else, demanding justice, repatriation, healing, and then also, releasing all these hidden and stolen technologies and bringing people to justice. And that's the disclosure movement, or full disclosure movement, if you will, in a nutshell.
Right. Because I know as well that the Philadelphia experiment was also part of MK Ultra. It was the same agencies that were pretty much doing all the weird stuff that everyone got roped into. And there was nothing, because I didn't realize it Philadelphia experiment went as deep as it did. Because I knew that the boat went from one side to the other, and then when it came back, or it vanished and then came back, there was servicemen and that were embedded in the metal, or there's just loads of it. Yeah, like that. But then there's one account, and this is the strangest, most bizarre thing I've ever heard. There's a guy who was part of this experiment. He was sat down having dinner with his wife and 2 kids. He kind of started phasing like the Flash does, and he started going semi-transparent and that. He just got up, turned around, walked through the wall, and was never seen again. And that's actual account from his family.
Right. So, I'll give you kind of as quick a version as I can of the history and the overview to give everyone a bit of a perspective here. So basically going back to World War II, you had, and pre-World War II, 1930s Germany, you had a very beautiful woman by the name of Maria Orsic. Okay.
Yeah.
And Maria Orsic was a telepath, a psychic, very clairvoyant, apparently. And she was in telepathic communication with these Nordic-looking beings. I guess think the band ABBA or whatever, from Aldebaran. What's that?
Don't tell everyone. Don't tell anyone.
Very well.
Oh boy. All right.
It's fine.
We'll keep
Carry on.
guilty pleasures to himself there. So, but I mean, strikingly beautiful. She believed, and there are other women. They were known as the Vril Society. Okay, and this is not, in my opinion, to be confused with the Vril that Donald Marshall talks about, the lizard Vril who are subterranean with 3 different forms. One's the size of orangutans that shoots out a proboscis out of its head to take people over. That's a different group of Vril. Donald Marshall and the Vril, you should definitely, that's related to this whole secret space program disclosure effort, just so you know. It's a little bit of a related but slightly different chapter, if you will. Let's put it like that. Back to Maria Orsic and her group, they were receiving telepathic communications from Aldebaran constellation from these Nordic-looking ETs for how to build spacecraft, UFOs. Okay, and basically the Nazis kind of got a hold of Maria and her grouping, and through something known as the THUL, THUL, or Tulenschaft Society or group. Okay, so these are like Nazis who are onto the esoteric, into looking for scouring the planet for the Spear of Destiny and going to Tibet to trying to find the entrances to Inner Earth and Shambhala and stuff like that. Okay. And using these, and that's here, so you have a picture behind this on this cover of this booklet here, right? Of these are like the UFOs. You know, you've got I can even just type in Nazi UFOs because they're known as these things.
Oh, is it like the Nazi bell?
Well, the Nazi bell is another form of that technology, which my understanding is more geared towards like the time travel and warping aspect, whereas the UFOs could do similar depending on their level of technology. But there's many different levels, you know. And then what this did is it enabled the Nazis to basically not win World War II overtly, because they didn't have the abilities to mass produce this technology in time and gear up the armaments, and they're still figuring out how to put guns on the platform that they could fire without making like their UFO spin, stuff like that. These are just accounts of stuff that I'm putting together. If I'm wrong on any of this, you know, hey, I don't remember being there, so I wasn't there. I'm just recalling all the accounts and research and people who I've spoken to who have seen these types of things. Or know about these things otherwise, because they've been in secret space programs. They were part of the Montauk Project. They haven't MK Ultra'd themselves or turned into super soldiers. And we could talk a bit about that later on. Moving on from the Tool Society and the Nazis getting their hands on this technology, even though it wasn't able to win them the World War II outright, it enabled them to relocate to Antarctica, among other places, and also South America, like Uruguay and Paraguay, you know, and that's where the Operation Paperclip comes in, where the U.S. CIA, or at that time OSS, merging into or Office of Strategic Services before they really turned into the CIA. They had rat lines bringing the Nazis out of mostly Germany and Western Europe and some Eastern Europe, and dispersing them around the rest of the world, mostly here into the US and South America. And then again, you had New Schwabenland, the base in Antarctica. And then that takes us, many of your viewers may be familiar with Operation High Jump.
Yes.
Okay. So this is where they decided at the end of World War II, they claimed, the US government, to the open, I call it the lamestream announcement. The official is that they sent a research expedition down to Antarctica. And then it's kind of like, that's funny. How many people send research expeditions that comprise naval carrier groups? Wow. Okay. And then the reports from the survivors are that before they got anywhere near this Nazi ET, base in Antarctica, New Schwabenland, these UFOs rose up out of the water, these saucers, and basically with advanced technology, laser beamed the carrier fleet into pieces. Wow. And not many people made it back. And then, that's where you get people like Admiral Forrestal getting thrown out of a window of a, top story of a hospital where he's supposedly there for mental health treatment. And you had Admiral Byrd going around doing interviews that are, being taken down wherever the government can, whoever, taking him down, talking about vast reaches and lands that we can't even comprehend here on the Earth. I'm a round earther, by the way, but I'm a inner round earther with space and all the planets, and then interdimensional, and then everyone up from the ETs, good and bad, to the angelics and the demonics, all the way up to source. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on board with all of that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Right. So off the, hey, the Nazis really won World War II. And then that's where you get the UFOs flying over Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can I ask you a question now? Sorry, just before you go on.
Yes.
So, you know when they say there's a hierarchy of who actually controls the world?
Great question. I love this
obviously, I've gone to the next level with this. Is it the Nazis? Because obviously there's no fly zone. There's no way that any average human being can get to Antarctica. So, and they've got these UFOs coming out of the water. So it's a USO, and they're blasting whatever they want with this magnificent enhanced weaponry that no one else can compete against. Because I know, and I learned this in history, just through Hitler and doing what he did, I know it's gone a bit deep and dark with this, with the concentration camps, they advanced like something like 20 years in medical history in 2 years with the experiments that he was doing on humans. So if they can do that in 2 years, I know it was gruesome what they did. I'm not going to go there, but we all know what happened. Sorry, go on.
Because, yeah, well, but I mean, if I may, Andy, there, and a lot of that's like the conventional, if I may, hey, because they tortured all these people in the camps under people like Mengele and whoever, we advanced and got all this medical knowledge. The deal is that once we have ET human interactions, whether they're ancient interactions going back thousands of years, and so these are like Wagelos stones from this region of Mexico with like ET light language and markings and carvings representing like ETs and helmets and things like that. Okay, and they're carbon dated 8,000 to 14,000 plus years old. Okay, and I've got multiple of these, and friends who do these go to Mexico and are friendly with the tribes there. And then the locals who give them their blessing to say, please, curate these stones and artifacts, make sure they get into the right hands, contribute back to our village, and share this with the world. Okay.
Yeah.
And once we're dealing with ETs, all bets are off. Their technology is thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of years old. And then once you add time travel and an intergalactic or interstellar trade, all bets are off.
Yeah.
And so, whatever leaps we supposedly made during World War II, then look at the microcomputer achievements and advancements. And my father, he was even part of that with, Tseng Labs Inc. He helped revolutionize the computer graphics field on the IBM PC side of things in the 80s and 90s, catching them up to the Apple side in graphics and all that, when graphics was ahead in sound and video. It was the platform of choice for the artists and the musicians and the video content creators. Okay. So then
sorry, go on.
So then basically moving ahead, what happened is the US government naturally said back in the 40s into the 50s, well, gee whiz, if we're getting our butts kicked by Nazi UFOs and they're establishing bases in Antarctica, and another one known as Lunar Operations Command, and it's originally, this base was apparently in the shape of a swastika.
Yes,
okay.
I've heard that before.
Okay, and I've heard about this, and since then they filled it in right here.
Yeah.
So this is like, originally there's like a swastika in there, and then they've since filled it in to get rid of that, or cover up that nasty heritage.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you speak with a lot of my presenters, such as Arakim Ra, and hopefully next year you can present John Whitberg, they speak extensively on the German and Japanese breakaway civilizations in particular.
Right.
Okay. And then there's also American and others, and Chinese, I believe. But what they did is, that's when they ran the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah.
Okay, around that time period. Was 1943. They did on the USS Eldridge.
Yeah, that's it. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, what they did is they basically put a Tesla coil generator on each end, aft and fore of the ship, the Eldridge.
Yeah.
And Tesla, and I forget who the other scientist was, Einstein or von Neumann or whoever, they pulled out. They said, this is not ready to stick human people or U.S. sailors on board this ship to crank this stuff up. We're not there yet. And the U.S. Navy said, no, it's okay. We're going to do it anyway. They put the ship out to sea. Not only when they cranked it up did it achieve radar invisibility like they claimed they were going for, that's where it ripped a hole in time and space and made the ship start to warp in and out of subspace. And then that's where some of the sailors got merged in with a ship. And when they came out of subspace, if they were still merged, that's where they became fused. Yeah. And then that's where, last summer, the 80th anniversary of the Montauk Philadelphia experiment, I co-organized with James Rink and others the Montauk Adventure Tour. And then some people who are psychics and parasensitives did energetic work, apparently, to help some of these sailors trapped in time subspace.
Wow.
Okay. But what happened was, off of that experiment, even though it went wonky and haywire and was not a good thing for this timeline, apparently this did cause damage. And this is shown a lot in the movie, The Philadelphia Experiment. And it's spoken a lot in the conspiracy realist community, if you will. Yeah. They said, this is really interesting. Let's continue experimentation with this type of technology, moving it from, off the Philadelphia port area or in all the other places they might have been experimenting, right, to Brookhaven National Laboratories. Here, this is Long Island, New York. Okay. In the center. Okay. Oh, wow. Excellent.
Couple hours.
Oh. Okay. Well, if we do another adventure tour there next year, like Arky wants to, then you're definitely invited. You too, Andy. I know it's a little bit.
Yeah, I'm coming to America next year, so I'm definitely coming back.
If anything, you got to come for my conference next year, 2025.
Definitely coming over next year.
What dates are your conference next year?
The 2025 Full Disclosure Now conference at St. Pete Beach, Florida, at the lovely Serrata Beach Resort. With we'll probably have 50 presenters because we'll be having panels on 2 different stages with special event dinners and other neat little side things going on for 4 days and nights.
What dates were they though?
July 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th of 2025. So
you definitely have to come in July.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you can go to that and then you can come up to Gettysburg for the Battlefield Bash on the 25th.
Yes.
See, I'm from
major conventions and expos.
Yeah, I'm from Bucks County, New Hope, and so I'm big on like Gettysburg and all the haunted sites. New Hope area, Lambertville, New Jersey has a lot of that history too. Yeah, Bowman's Tower. Yep. So, yeah, go ahead, Andy. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say I'm definitely live in the wrong country. 100%.
Yeah. That's where I was this weekend in Gettysburg.
I know. I've seen all the pictures and videos.
Wherever you're at, enjoy it and live it up to the max and make a difference wherever you're at. And then if you got to pick up and move, then we'll give you some ideas.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I have done over 2 weeks a paranormal road trip and did get quite a lot of activity from a dog footprint. Nearly half the size of my foot, and I'm size UK 9, which is US 10. But with the outer sole on the shoe, it's more of a US 11 size shoe. It was as wide as my foot. It's as big as my hand. This dog print. There are no dogs in even a St. Bernard or a Bull Mastiff don't have paws and there's only one. And it's
were you near any military bases or national type parks?
No, Paul Sinclair goes to Bempton, does Truth Proof. So Bempton's the northeast of the UK, a place called near Scarborough. You've got there's a place called Danes Dyke, and you've got Bridlington and Bempton, and there's a lot of lights that they see in the water, and then they'll see lights in the sky. And I interviewed a couple of people while I was there, and they were telling me things that they've seen. And this guy lived in this village all his life. But there's three of us. There's me, Simon, and a guy called Wayne, who I'm not sure if he's in the chat. We're walking through this Danes Dyke, and there's a footprint. I swear to God, it's the size of my hand. And he's only one, and it's muddy everywhere. It's like you can't step anywhere without stepping in the mud.
That's creepy.
It was as big as my hand. But I'm making.
So are you familiar? Have you talked about dogmen and dogmen breeding programs on this show yet?
Not breeding programs.
Not real, not breeding, because I was gonna get back in touch with Jessica Jones about that.
Yes, you should definitely talk to Jessica, the cryptid huntress. In a nutshell, from what I can tell, and others like Jessica, basically just like how in these secret space programs and the Montauk Project in Plum Island, you've got all sorts of weird Frankenstein hybridization type stuff.
Oh yeah.
What they do is they do these hybridization programs to basically create super soldiers, assassins, and trackers, which dogmen would probably be really good at tracking, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And so then there's a connection with UFOs, because sometimes then the dogmen are being picked up in the UFOs and they're being taken on missions. And in the meantime, they're allowed free run, perhaps in like the local woods. That's why I asked if there were any military bases nearby.
There is an old RAF base.
You don't say.
I actually forgot, and I was stood. We stood on the cliff top, and we're watching all the puffins and birds and all that, and there's actually I've got video footage of it as well. There's RAF base behind me. But the thing is, so Paul was doing his show the other week, and he was saying that there's been a cryptid sighting around there. So I'd met up with Paul and done some filming and talking. He's filming me and talking. I'm filming him and talking. So it's like a double recording. So it's pretty cool, actually, how it worked out. And I'd said to Paul that we'd just been to Danes Dyke and we come back. We had a bit of a thing going on, but I didn't really tell him that much into it. Anyway, he was doing a show the other Sunday, and he said about these cryptids being seen. So I put a question in the chat: can you specify as to exactly what cryptid it was that was seen? Basically, he said it was a bipedal canine dogman. And then I said, I've got a photograph of a footprint, and I sent it to him and Les, and they're like, wow. So I still need to speak to Paul about that, because he's got more evidence of other things that have gone on. And I've got this where me, Simon, and Wayne were there, but I've actually got a video of me walking down the steps and filming this footprint. And you can see this mud. It's not loads of mud. It's like at the edge is banking on these. It's like concrete steps, but kind of like made out of broken wood and all that. And you can see there's mud everywhere, but there are no other footsteps. I've examined the video. I've zoomed into like the outside, like the edge of the video, and when I've panned over to the right and back again, and it's just, yeah. Oh, do you know what? If you give me a moment, I will get you the picture of it.
Can I just sidebar and say I love Brian, because this is what I do, like behind the scenes. Every time we mention something, I'm Googling it.
Right.
You just can't see my screen, but that's what I'm doing all the time.
Can you see that? There's a bit of glare on it. But look, so that's a size 10 shoe. That's my.
It's a nice big paw print. Yeah, it's a paw print. It's a clear paw print.
For a second.
Yeah, so
I'll add the screen back on a second.
You can clearly see the size of that to my foot and the depth of it. This part of it, you can actually see the concrete step underneath on one of the front pads. You can see the claws sticking out, so we know it's not a cat, because I know cats retract the claws unless they're sticking them in your leg. But yeah, if you look at the size of that to my foot and how wide my foot is, I'll just
Yeah, it looks like a tiger or a lion size.
yeah, I would. Yeah, there, that's a bit better.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and that's just this. So that this is it on its own, without the comparison. But look at the depth of that.
Right. So it must have been heavy.
Yeah.
Relatively heavy, unless the mud was super wet at the time. But even then, it's big enough, probably heavy.
I will add that Joe tells us all the time there are wolf dogs in the UK.
This isn't a wolf dog. Where's its other prints? Why is there no human prints with it? Why is there nobody walking it?
I don't know. Just saying, devil's advocate.
I know. There was no other foot. There was nothing else to go with it. It was just one on its own. So I was out, gone for a walk one Sunday. It was a summer, me and the missus, and we'd gone to a place that had been investigating a couple of weeks before. And part of this foot track goes through someone's garden. So you've got to stick to the path. It says don't go left and right because it's private property. And there's just one human footprint, probably about a size 2, size 3 child, like big, like junior size. Just one human footprint. So the path's going north to south. This footprint was going east to west, and there's no other prints. How is there only one footprint? No other shoe prints.
My whole thing is I mean, who knows? For all we know, there's a lot of potential explanations there.
Well,
you know, for all we know, like maybe they're biking along and the kid had to get off his bike to pee and left a footprint.
No bike track, but it's a naked foot. It was a naked foot.
And I wasn't there, but needless to say, I mean, we're at the level where, you know, the people that we're hanging around, like, sure, a footprint in the mud, whatever. But, you know, we've got people who their testimonies are that they were taken to places like as children, to places like Brookhaven National Labs, strapped down to something known as a Montauk trip chair, which they later moved over from. Look at this like ring accelerator, this particle accelerator looking thing here, and then over here. Okay, so we were talking about the movie Stranger Things. That like I forget the name of the laboratory, that Department of Energy thing in the show Stranger Things, but think Brookhaven National Labs whenever you see that.
Oh, your screen's not shared.
Oh, sorry. Let me share my screen again.
Yeah, so it's just a bit. If it had been a shoe print and there'd been like tire tracks and something there,
no, I know.
Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have thought twice about it. But the fact that there,
I'm surrounded by people who, if there's a Sasquatch in the area, they could see the Sasquatch. If there's fairy people in the area, they can see the fairy people. If there's shadow beings, if someone's aura is crazy, if they got demons on them. So to me, it's like, footprint in the mud, that's cool. But, you know, no offense. But I feel so jaded. I'm just so jaded now. It's like,
I gotta be the designated skeptic and play devil's advocate sometimes. I gotta keep us grounded here.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was anything. I'm saying it was odd to see a single naked human footprint. But it's a 5-toed footprint. Didn't look like it could belong to anything else. And then that other one was a big dog print in the middle of a forest area that has a lot of dogman sightings around there.
Nice. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a doubter at all. I'm like probably, I think personally, it's either in the case of the UK, because you got such a long heritage or a long history of witchcraft and magic and rituals. On the one hand, it could be a paranormal thing, or on the other part of me says it might be on the dogman breeding side of things, where it's like a military black ops program in the UK as one of the Five Eyes countries. You know, either or. I'd be 40-40, and then 20%. It's a more mundane explanation.
Yeah, I'm not even ruling out. I'm not even ruling out that it could be a big dog that someone's took for a walk, and it's just pulled over, and they've pulled it back, and it's gone down the concrete.
Yeah, you never know, and that's why it's an X-Files. That's the beauty of it, you know. But hey, within this day and age now, you can task it to like 5-10 different blind remote viewer friends. see what you get back. We could task it to Jessica Jones, Cryptid Huntress. She
Yeah,
gets
she's
back
done
anything interesting. You'll
she's
go on
done-
her show and discuss it.
She's done remote viewing for me before and was absolutely spot on. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, from me as well and others, and together with the Farsight Institute. I mean, they do their own remote viewing, but their stuff tends to be spot on, it seems.
yeah.
So getting back to the Philadelphia experiment and relocating to Brookhaven National Labs, when they began doing these Stranger Things type experiments, and probably it was getting to be too much weirdness to keep undercover easily, even at this facility. For whatever reason, they relocated to the east end of Long Island, New York, to the then abandoned military base at Camp Hero, which is an abandoned World War II Army base, which is now a state park, but it has an underground component. And they brought something here known as a Montauk trip chair, which everyone that I've talked to, they say one of the things they retrieved from one of the Roswell crash sites from that UFO wreckage was a pilot chair.
Yeah.
And the ETs pilot the craft using telepathy, not sticking rudder.
Didn't they sit in the chair and use it as like a remote viewing tool?
Well, what they did is they tortured the kids, strapped them down in the chair, tortured them while they were in the chair, drugged them, beamed sound and frequency and energy at them, sexually abused them and other children in a circle around them to give them, that one child, enough psychic energy to then open up portals in time and space.
Right. Yes.
And using these portals, they would then send time soldiers, other MK Ultra slave assets, through the portals to then do what I call time travel shenanigans or effery, to mess us up and put humanity onto a darker, negative timeline.
Right.
Because you were asking earlier about the hierarchy and the powers that be, and I'm going to get to that. Needless to say, here at Camp Hero in Project Phoenix, they were, according to some of my good friends and presenters like Arkeem Ra, who is one of these people. They did, for example, one time travel mission could last decades. There was apparently, back in Renaissance Italy, a Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla rolled into one type, who with his experimentations would have given us the equivalent of either clean, endless energy or anti-gravity or time travel or all three, because all three are interrelated.
Yeah.
And basically they had to sabotage this guy, and they were embedded in this Renaissance Italian village for decades with this guy for like his whole life. And if he was going to be on the edge of a significant scientific breakthrough, they might start a fire in his lab the day before, or make sure something broke, or a piece of equipment disappeared. Or if there was going to be a famous writer or poet who was going to come through and meet this inventor and write about him and put him in the history books, they made sure that meeting never happened.
Right.
And then after they wreck this guy, and he's just a wreck at the end of his career, a failure, when in any God-given, normal, unmessed with timeline, we'd have like space travel and a Star Trek future here, right now, already. Tartaria, we would have had Tartaria, and it wouldn't have been wiped away. Okay, and I'll go into that too briefly. Arkeem, as one of these mind control assets who is forced to do terrible things himself, would get sent through these portals to then grab back the assets who were there to sabotage this Renaissance guy in Italy. And often these people would literally put up a fight to the death. Imagine if you're in Renaissance Italy for 40 years, shadowing this dude. In the meantime, you find a beautiful wife, you've got kids, you've got grandkids, like you're loving it. Like, the Italian food's amazing. And then this dude comes through the portal and he says, "All right, soldier," he shouts some activation code at you. maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's been 40 years in linear time for you in Renaissance Italy. And then you fight him to the death. And he ends up knocking you out, bringing you back. Even if he physically can kill you, if they do it within 24 hours, they have this ET technology to regenerate you and capture your soul and put it back into the regenerated body. And usually the main thing they need is your head. Okay. So this is one example. Penny Bradley, with the secret space programs, she talks about how she was one of these Valkyrie historically, like they write about in Wagner in the Ring Saga. Okay. Because as the Germans began to expand to other planets and asteroids and all over with space bases, they needed to populate these worlds and get them under control and tame them. And so what they did is they would go back in time to battlefields, these medieval battlefields where these hardy Viking, Norwegian type warrior dudes who believed in Valhalla, they fought in battle and died gloriously. They were dead anyway. It's not going to hurt the timeline to take them. You sweep in, cut off the head off the body, go back to your ship. People see Valkyries, beautiful women flying around on light beams or whatever with lightsabers, carrying the warriors up to the sky. You're put in a regen tank, okay, and you're told that you're going to live out your life peacefully in Valhalla, and you're on like Centurion 5. That's the name of a planet they took over, one of the secret space programs. Okay, to help terraform it and make it livable. I mean, you don't know that. You're just living your life on Valhalla, but meanwhile, you're tilling the fields, you're killing the hazardous ET, wildlife on that planet to make it safe for you and your family. And there you go. Okay, and so I hope I'm not rambling here.
No.
It's
so from Thank you. Okay, so then from Project Phoenix or the Montauk Project, what happened is as they were doing time travel effery, as I call it, Project Phase 1.0 or Montauk 1.0, as Arkeem likes to call it, was when they were first experimenting. They literally went through thousands of children, stolen, missing children taken off the streets of Long Island, New York City, inner city area, probably going up to Trenton or over to Trenton, New Jersey area, inner cities, picking up kids, going into the psychiatric and halfway homes for kids, also finding talented and gifted kids through these other programs where they would screen people. They knew to do this from the Nazis probably after World War II, screen kids in these talented and gifted programs to find kids who are psychically gifted. Because that's the thing number one wanted. Number one, they want bloodline children with DNA. It's like reptilian, especially to hold that reptilian vibration when they do their Luciferian blood rituals, often unfortunately involving children as the victims, to finding people who are psychic, because if you could create a psychic super soldier and amp up their abilities and make them good with a gun, darn, that's very valuable to certain generally negative players. Okay, so Montauk 2.0 was they began to get good at sending people through the portals. They knew which kids could open portals, and the kids who couldn't are all dead by then. Most of them, they died in the chair trying to do that. Only a very small portion of people apparently have the ability to, at least at this level, have it activated to open a portal. And then Montauk 3.0 was where one of these kids realized, hey, they're strapping me into this chair. They're doing terrible things to me and my fellow kids. They're torturing us to create mind control, Manchurian candidate, alternative identity alters, okay, that they can program to be assassins or sex slaves or psychic spies or whatever, like remote viewers. And I can open a portal on the one hand to anywhere, or I can also manifest gold or a ray gun. Well, he manifested what a lot of people call Junior, the Montauk Sasquatch. Okay, are you familiar with this?
Yes.
Okay, so this Sasquatch energy being, think it might have been inspired by the movie The Forbidden Planet, where they summon the energy being that like tears up, the human temporary base there. Even though Peter Moon's book series, where he got most of his information from Preston Nichols, who was a satanic pedophile.
That's his name.
Duncan Cameron, and Al Bielek, okay, but not Jack Pruitt. He probably got a whitewash version. Okay.
Right.
And I've heard from many more people. Chris Latour up in Canada might have been the real Duncan Cameron in this case. And the person who claims the Duncan Cameron, he might have been given screen memories of X, Y, and Z. And then what do you know? The whitewash version leaves out all these kids who are still alive, who are now coming to the fore as adults, who are now breaking free of this programming. And Junior, the psychic Sasquatch monster, tore up the base and only hurt the perpetrators who are hurting the kids.
Yes.
Did not hurt the kids. And so what this did is it cleared out the base long enough for what Arkim and others are calling Montauk 3.0. For a brief time period, they, under Joseph Powell, who is one of the Time Soldiers, and Arkim Ra, and perhaps John Whitberg and others, they ran a series of missions to try to undo the harm that they'd done to this timeline.
Wow.
Until that base got re-rated and taken over by the baddies, the Illuminati cabal types. And I think they eventually had to fill the base up with water, the underground area, and then relocate to places like the Presidio, underneath San Francisco's Presidio district, a decommissioned military base. What do you know? And also under New Orleans, which is a town I love. But it also has got a lot of high strangeness there. It would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, it's on my list.
Amazing.
That's on my list as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so where we are right now is off the Montauk Project, or Project Phoenix, to mess with the timeline. You've also got CERN, where they're opening up portals and gateways to allow negative interdimensional beings, Lovecraftian negative type beings to come through that they think they can make bargains with, which no people. Wow, you guys are dumb. And seriously.
Yeah.
Just like all the Luciferians.
Well, if you have nothing that they want, what do you have to offer?
Right. They're opportunists. They want something. They don't understand the idea of giving and abundance. They just understand taking at any cost from power. So anyway, let me tell it how I feel. So they're Illuminati cabal programs. They're basically, to answer your earlier question, because it all relates together, because these are the people who run these programs.
Yes.
Okay, to answer your earlier question, Andy. You've got what most people know as the Illuminati cabal. A lot of these are the Khazarian mafia types, or Sabbaty and Frankus, as David Icke and other people have researched and traced some of their lineage back to. And even further to like Babylon, ancient Egypt, Babylon, Atlantis, and Lemuria. Okay, because they are in league with negative, demonic, and ET beings that, thousands of years of human history is not that long to them. They've been around all this time and longer. And in the case of a lot of these demonic, archonic entities, perhaps beyond time, space as we know it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so off these bloodline families, the Illuminati, in league with the ETs, they've had this plan, short-term and long-term, really long-term this whole time, to enslave humanity and put us on a negative timeline where we work under these Draco, Orion, reptilian empire types to then become transhumanist cyborg slave army. Okay, like shown in kind of like the Clone Wars and Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's probably a depiction of the Orion Wars. and to then go out and conquer the rest of the known galaxies using portals and stargates and time travel and spaceships. And it would not be pretty. That is not a good timeline.
No.
Okay, that's known as the false spiral Metatronic timeline, where think of a spiral of an energetic particle that spirals in on itself and collapses, versus what's known as the Christed timeline spiral, where think of it, it's spiraling upwards and outwards and upwards and up and out and higher, okay, all the way back up to source, if you will. That's the positive awakening timeline versus the New World Order WEF Great Reset, transhumanist BS timeline. Okay, and these Illuminati bloodlines, they have varying amounts of Draco reptilian and other DNA in them that's highly valued by these black magic types, which gives them a pecking order in their hierarchy at the human level. And then you've got the ET level, where you've got the reptilians and the Anunnaki who've been abusing humanity for so long locally. And then the Anunnaki, I've been told by John Woodberg, think of Earth as like kind of like a small town in Missouri, and then think of the Anunnaki as like Missouri, and then think of the Dracos as like the English Empire.
Right.
Okay. And so the Anunnaki and the Draco for all this time have been messing with humanity and screwing up this grand human experiment that these other wonderful ET races contributed their DNA to us. In the meantime, we've been hijacked and turned into a prison planet and used to mine gold or for food or for slaves and X, Y, and Z in the meantime. And so where full disclosure comes in, this is a mission statement of the conference. Is in order for us to collectively liberate humanity and enter into our Star Trek future, the general public must come to understand the truth of secret space programs, super soldier operations, military abductees, and other nefarious schemes that continue to this day. That's what we're all about.
Yeah. So, the Mandela effect.
Oh, yeah.
That's being caused by all this timeline shifting and everything else. Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of people think it's from CERN. I personally believe it's Project Phoenix and Pegasus, which is like a predecessor to the time travel stuff they did at Montauk.
Do you think that it's just a side effect of what they're doing, or do you think it's something intentional, like an experiment in itself?
Well, what I think is that we see perhaps a side effect of Mandela not dying after 26 years of mostly solitary confinement in Robben Island prison off the coast of South Africa, being locked up for life as a leader of the anti-apartheid struggle in South Africa. And people like you and I, maybe on this, from the timeline I'm originally from, okay, I cried because as a community organizer, I organized physicians and other medical professionals. And so I taught about and learned about organizing movements, including the anti-apartheid struggle. And I remember crying literally about, seeing depictions of Steve Biko and Mandela getting beaten up by, the nasty prison guards, getting starved and then one day, and I taught classes about it. I watched movies, read books, taught classes to other up and coming organizers. And then one day around 2012, I wake up and there's a movie on TV with Morgan Freeman as Nelson Mandela, who apparently got out of Robben Island prison, becomes president of South Africa, and then inspires the national rugby team to a international rugby tournament championship. And then that rugby captain is played by Matt Damon. I'm like, like, what's going on here, guys? And like, that's not fake. It's not like false memory syndrome. I mean, I call that, gaslight your ass syndrome, calling it false memory. It's not a false memory. And so, but to answer your question there, Nicole, in that happening, maybe the time soldiers, they had to go back, intervene, make sure that he lived, because something had to happen under his presidency or after in South Africa involving someone or some group that was, for whatever reason, beneficial, okay, to the Illuminati, cabal, Khazarian mafia types running, the Montauk Project. And so that would be my response to that.
Yeah. Well, Mandela is a huge one, and that would have, lasting impacts on things. But I'm talking about like the stupid things, like Berenstain Bears changing the spelling. Like,
so what I think is it's possible that they might have done marker events as well. Who knows? To maybe change something that in the common media and meme that wouldn't. Who cares? How does that affect the timeline? But then along with that, on that same mission, they did something that would affect the timeline more significantly. And then how do they know that they're on the same timeline, or they've merged the timelines that they wanted into the right one? Well, if the Bernstein Bears name got changed, okay, so that's the same timeline where they assassinated so-and-so, or did whatever technology, or X, Y, and Z. Okay, that would be my thought on that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's like, if something they've done that they've changed in that moment as something else is being created or applied in the same moment, like you said, if they're on that same timeline or frequency, whatever you want to call it, then it could just be that, like a knock-on effect. It's like non-intentional.
We've seen Back to the Future, right?
Yeah.
You ever see Back to the Future 1, 2, 3, 4? What are they on? 5?
Yeah. About 10 now, isn't it?
I don't know. I didn't make it past like 3.
Yeah, right. Me neither. But those films are apparently disclosure. It's time travel 101 for people.
Because I didn't know this. Sorry, just quickly. So when they first go to Twin Pines, the shop, is it a shopping mall? Right?
Yep.
And they go through the board, they smash through it. When they go back, it's called the Pine. It's not called Twin Pines.
Because they only
Oh,
that's right. They actually went through a pine tree, so there's only one growing.
The timeline, and that would be your marker. Is that, and you might say, well, who cares the name of the mall, Lone Pine or the Pines, Twin Pines?
Yeah, I can't remember.
If you look at it in this way, well, if it's Lone Pine, it means that you're on the timeline where Marty and Doc went back to the future, to the Wild West, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, and so, in terms of time travel, what's going on is that instead of the time travel paradox of you can't go back in time and kill your grandfather, it's like, yes, you can. What it does is it causes a split off timeline. Right. And the thing is apparently that's bad, in that timelines are organic, they're alive, they're sentient, they're conscious. They want to maintain their individuality. They may allow you to change them to a certain extent, but if you try to F with them like real crazy, they'll stop you. It gets harder and harder to run these missions, to go back to the same time and to try to do the same thing. It gets harder and harder, is what I've been told.
Have you ever seen that show about I think it's based on Stephen King, where they tried to go back in time to prevent the assassination of JFK? Have you seen the show?
More the book. I read the book, like November 11th, 1963, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, whatever it is. But it's like that. It reminds me of that, how the timeline's pushing back. It's trying to prevent you from changing it.
Exactly. And that apparently is a real phenomenon. And then I kind of look at it from, I don't know, the easiest way I think of it is that there's like 64 or so main timelines. 40 of them are good, positive ascension timelines where we find the light as humanity and Earth and join, into our Star Trek future or magical future one way or another, positive. And then 14 or so would be like your negative Matrix, Terminator, Mad Max, Apocalypse timelines.
Right. So can we? Oh, sorry. Go on. I thought you'd done.
Yeah, and they all get played out, and we get to choose which one we want to be on, depending on how we vibrate in our own universal free will.
Well, that was like my next question. Can we exist in all of these timelines, or do we have to, like you said, function at a certain vibration to get onto them? And can we? Obviously, we can do it. We can do it unknowingly, but is there a way for us to change our frequency to then get to a different timeline?
Yes to all of that, Andy. Because what that's known as is that's called timeline hopping, or frequency jump, or quantum entangling. And then you're not generally using just the law of attraction, which, you know, people like, I'm dreaming and wishing and hoping, and that's good. I'm all for that. But also the law of right aligned action or correlation, where you're doing things and living in alignment and vibrating in alignment and frequency with what you want to achieve. And then as you manifest that in reality through a good intent and hard work and being and living, you know, with our fellow brothers and sisters, you get to manifest. And then as you manifest, now you have greater and greater ability to then quantum entangle with the timeline you want. I mean, you can do it the negative way too, don't get me wrong. It's just a vast majority of people trying to quantum entangle higher and not like do all horrible, terrible rituals and stuff to make cut deals and go the negative route. You know, I'm not advocating that. Do not do that. Please don't.
No. Thank you for that. We have got a couple of questions for you, if that's all right. We've still got 20 minutes to go, so it's all good.
I love it. I love questions.
Right. So this one's from Nickname, and she's asking, my friend just tagged me into a Sasha Stone live. Is Brian acquainted with him?
So I'm not personally acquainted with Sasha. I know people who know him. I think Sasha's work is very interesting, but I don't personally know him. So I don't know him, but I would. He's in the field. You know, we're all kind of in the paranormal woo new earth. I don't want to put myself in new age category. But we're in the field, as it were. But I don't know him.
Thank you. And next question has got nothing to do with anything you just spoke about. It's from Joe, who was on before. She wants to know, need Brian on top talk about what's behind him?
Well, I'm a prepper. So I'm here in Northern Nevada. My wife and I and our one dog fled San Francisco during the scamdemic, when people were getting really nasty about putting on slave diapers, masks, and face diapers, and getting jabbed. The vax holes were getting really, and so in California, there's a lot of things that you're not allowed to have, right? Guns and swords, firearms, stuff like that. And so when we fled to Northern Nevada, where we are now, in a wonderful, awesome, giant, great house for an amazing price, after selling a property, the family property in San Francisco, overlooking this town, I get all the great toys and fun things. Everything from the guns and the firearms, which are just in case survival scenario, or if I need to go hunting or I need to defend the house or myself, my family. There you go. The sword is more of a traditional ceremonial thing for me, but sure, it's self-defense. I need that level. The practice nunchucks are for fun. The knives are there just to kind of go up there if I need a knife. Screwdrivers and pliers and tools, things like EMF readers, or I'll have Zener cards and stuff up there, paranormal stuff or investigatory stuff, gloves and sunglasses and a magnifying glass and a pulse oximeter finger reader, or a magnet, anything. It's just organizing stuff that's handy in one spot, and so that's kind of my answer. But a lot of people like to ask about it. Yeah, those are real firearms. The one up there is more of a reproduction pump, 45 long, gun. And then the other one is a more of my blingy purple and gold AR and 5.56 caliber.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've got heavier and lighter. Yeah.
See, I'm still in the wrong country. What is going on?
Yeah, you can't even.
I need to move to the right country. I go to the right state.
The sword is hard to get over there, bro. Meanwhile, you got a sword is hard for you to get Meanwhile, you've got these imported people, military-age males via the Caligari type plans, who are being weaponized. I'm not trying to be racist or anti-cultural, but I'm just trying to say there is something known as the Caligari plan, where they've got machetes and it's hard for you to get a sword, not a gun. Forget that. So good luck. When
I used to have a samurai sword, a katana. It wasn't
okay.
I paid quite a bit for it. It wasn't amazing. It's only like fourfold. So it was more display, but it looked the piece. And it was like, when you buy this, you cannot take it out of the box. Don't do what the other guy did, who took it out of the box, put it in the thing, and wore it over his shoulder in the centre of Manchester, walking down like Market Street with everyone there. Yeah, you can guess what happened when the police turned up. Not impressed one bit. So
I'd say don't do it alone. Now, if you get 1,000 people who want to go rocking their swords, as a protest to say, why are we the people?
He thought it was all right to wear it.
My point is as not just an American who's a strong believer of the Second Amendment right to bear arms per the Bill of Rights, and then supposedly backed up by our Constitution. Looking at you all over there, you lot, as Miles would say, over in the UK, where you're going to get jumped by the bobbies for carrying a sword, Highlander style. I think that's ridiculous. I mean, it's one thing if the guy's waving it around in the in this town square, threatening people, yelling there can only be one. That's one thing. But if he wants, as a human being, a grown adult, to rock a sword in the UK of all places, which has a wonderful history of swordsmanship and sword making, craft.
Yeah.
I was just making that social commentary.
Yeah, no, totally get it. Yeah, so we ain't getting nothing. Spud's gum. That's about as good as it gets.
You got nothing fun over there.
Nothing.
No, it's not
even
fun.
the weather's not
country.
Fun. Sorry?
You're in the wrong country.
Yeah, wrong country or the wrong time period. Like medieval times would have been all right.
Then you could have a big sword.
Yeah.
And no toilet paper. Sounds great.
Yeah.
And dysentery or the plague.
That's what I'm saying, exactly. We probably had toilet paper, but the dysentery and plague part,
But I'd been able to live in a castle, so it's all good.
Yeah.
But would you? Because not many people.
No, probably not. I'd have probably lived in a river.
So there you go. That's the answer. Is it depends. I also want to mention Tartaria real briefly.
Yeah. Yes.
It's my personal belief that Tartaria was wiped out of the history books using covert programs like the Montauk Project, Project Phoenix.
Really?
And when you speak to my good friend and presenter Audrey Walters, I'll share my screen again. She has a show on YouTube known as Star Netlink on YouTube. And Audrey Walters here. Where's Audrey? Right there. Audrey Walters. Yep. She says that according to her ET sources, and these are people who are like Galactic Federation types, and the Galactic Court System types are her main contacts right now. And I'm talking live, like she can communicate with them in real time. Do telepathy, not like trance channeling, where they like take your over or anything like that, but just telepathic communication. Tartaria was a human societal experiment where our abilities and a lot of the technologies would be unlocked and open. And humanity off that society so fast and quickly began to evolve and grow that the other side saw that they had to shut that shit down. And they couldn't let that be known, because that opened us up to our Star Trek future in like Victorian times. Okay. So, or Edwardian. And so that's my take on Tartaria, what it was and how it got wiped out. And so like how could they wipe out an entire civilization and all the maps and all these artifacts and all this stuff is buried and nobody remembers and X, Y, and Z. You can do it if you have time travel. People to go back in time and bonk people over the head before they reveal all these maps and photographs, and you send in the Smithsonian or the Vatican, or whoever to swoop up all that and shut up whoever or erase their memories, if not neutralize them more of, permanently. But there you go.
Yeah. They're good at cleaning history, should we say.
What are your thoughts? Have you heard the story of the man from Taured?
The passport
From
guy.
where?
The man from Taured, Taured.
No. Tell me a little bit about that. It might refresh your memory.
So it was in the 60s in Japan, and he came through, and his passport said he was from Taured, but there's no such country.
Okay. Right. So he probably came from an alternate timeline where that country is in existence, and he might have been a screw up. Somehow something screwy happened. Who knows? Or he might be what's known as a bubble swap. So Arkeem here, he talks about this, where let's say you are a time soldier and they have you pull off a major time mission, and it is a big deal. Like, destroying a major monument or something lame that these people think of. That I hate this garbage, by the way. I'm all for a positive future. So lame cloak and dagger shit like blowing up crap and assassinating people doesn't impress me. You know what I mean? So, but what if you were a time soldier and they had you pull off something so huge and momentous that they did not want you to get caught and for it to be exposed, they might take you out of that timeline and put you into a different timeline. And then you might grab the you from that timeline and then switch that poor bastard into the timeline you just came from. And that's where people wake up and they're like, totally like, wait a second, I am not on the same earth or timeline, and people think they're crazy, and they've got these huge long testimonies. It's like, well, to time travelers and time soldiers, they would say, oh, I know what's going on. It's probably that might be one explanation, Nicole.
But do you know the full story to that, Nicole?
Yeah, how he disappeared again.
So he pointed on a map. He pointed on a map where he was from. It was around like Japan, like one of the islands, and then they put him in like holding room. They went away to find, because he had all these visas. It was all stamped. His passport was valid and all that carry on. And then they went. Didn't they go away to check his details?
Yeah,
I have heard this case. They snatched him out. You guys have seen the TV show Loki?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where it's like they basically time core or whoever they port. Literally, Arkeem talks about this. So portal in through a wall or wherever, come through a mirror, grab you, pull you through the mirror. The portal is closed up. Who's going to be the wiser? There's your report. I mean, that would be my analysis in a nutshell.
Yeah, because where else?
And it's got
why
context to who or when or what. There you go.
And the thing, you couldn't open the door from the inside. It was only accessible from the outside. There's no windows in there.
Yeah, we know enough. We already know enough.
There was a mirror.
To the crowd I run with, I already know what happened. It's not like, oh no, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like, oh wow. And that's like, yeah, it's normal.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other questions or anything like that? I love questions.
We got one more. One more, right?
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, from Nickname. Does Brian think he's being watched for the full disclosure conferences, etc.? And do you have any examples of instances? Thank you.
Okay, so I 1000% believe I'm being watched for the full disclosure conferences, because on the one hand, there are people in the community who, unfortunately, they're jealous, and hopefully they shouldn't be. And I know they're watching, and some of them even snuck into the conference and didn't buy tickets or whatever. I don't care. So there's like my hater trolls out there. And then I know there are people like this one guy named Eugene Sonny Irvin. I'll say his name on air. He's literally chases all the brightest lights in our community, and then gives us all death threats and tries to get us to listen to music videos, which probably some people say it's got codes embedded in it. And it's like, whatever, I'm not listening to your hours of garbage, Eugene. And he gets all mad. It's like, hey, come find me. I'm here in Nevada. Got lots of mine shafts to drop you down if you want to, try to be physical danger.
Sounds like a fun guy.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that level. And then I was told by some of our presenters that they did spot who they think were pretty easy to spot, kind of like the Men in Black spooky types coming to the conference, but may not full on Men in Black, like they're white pasty and they can like have a wristwatch the portal out, but just more like the spook spy types just monitoring us. But I like to think they learned something, had a good show, and are more sympathetic and realize they're working for the wrong side, So there's that. And then I'm sure there's AI and all sorts of technology being employed to monitor me and so many others, because I know I'm on a crap ton of lists. I already know this. Just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just from an intuitive level. Maybe I'm wrong, right? But my knowing tells me, oh, yeah. And everyone else who reads into it and does a scan, they're like, oh, yeah. It's like, how could I not be? I mean, come on, right? I mean, I've got Miles Johnson of the Bases Project blowing the lid off of the dirty tricks of MI6, flushing black goo down the Thames River or wherever. Am I on any list? Yeah, probably. Having said that, I feel very protected, extremely, incredibly protected, to the point where I feel like those who have been sent after me, probably I've got enough protection that nasty stuff happened to those people where they were at least evaporated somehow or not, they were neutralized. And so that's where I'm coming from. I'm also coming from, even if I knew there was like some weird hit squad of dogman assassins being sent my way, would that stop me or deter me? No, not at all. That would just make me fight harder and piss me off.
Yeah.
I know other people have said that, like, speaking very publicly about these things is kind of their protection, because if they take you out or, something like that, people are going to know that it was true. Do you feel
Absolutely.
that way?
100%. And that's my advice to anybody, especially experiencers and survivors and witnesses out there, is number one, write out your timeline, like Wolverine the comic books, 1975, born in Philadelphia, wherever, blah, 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 being taken away from the men in white vans, 1982, whatever, after joining this program at this high school and remembering this military base and this facility, and name Michael Aquino and all the names of all the dirty bastards who did all the nasty stuff. Then please, in plain English, write up a summary that anybody can read in 2 pages or less, or 3 if you got it. Just a summary, guys, in plain English of what you're trying to tell people. And then off of that, you should have a list of demands, like name the Michael Aquinos and the other henchmen and perpetrators and people in power. Name the abusers and the islands and the facilities who are taken to, and demand they be exposed and dismantled. Demand that the medical bed technology that's being hoarded and the clean energy and anti-gravity and flying space vehicle stuff, that all be unveiled and shared with humanity. And also that we stop being spiritually messed with so that we can ascend, because that has to happen spiritually so that we can gain all these gifts technologically. Because who wants a society where Joe Blow can get drunk at the local pub, jump into his spacecraft, and then crash into the rest of the neighborhood at sublight speed? That's not a pretty scenario.
No.
Right.
Bit of a mess.
As opposed to a higher timeline where, people aren't numbed out and, all X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for coming on. It was just
my pleasure.
Information overload.
Oh, definitely.
I love all this.
Yes.
You just can't. You can't compare it to anything else other than what it actually is. It's there, black and white. It stands out. Some things you may have to have pointed out to you, but once you get that focus, you notice everything in a different light, quite literally.
Yeah. Discernment. If you have the helmet of salvation on, and you've got your map board of the who, what, when, and where, and you're able to open up your heart enough to look dispassionately, because it takes love to be able to look at a situation dispassionately. It takes love for a surgeon to look at someone coming into their emergency room and realize all the cuts and stuff they're going to have to do to keep this person alive. That takes a lot of love to do. And I'm asking people to do that just from a standpoint of examining what's in front of us, and don't be like my father, who took the 3 of the magic cocktails and died last November. I was told through a medium, a channeler, that towards the end of his life, he was beginning to realize that the things I was telling him were true and real. But every time he got too close to that final conclusion of, wait, we are being run by satanic pedophiles who want to kill 9 out of 10 of us and enslave the rest under transhumanism, blah, 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 he just couldn't handle it. And I was saying, for your sake, and everyone you care about, don't deny yourself the love of being able to dispassionately look at what's going on. Give yourself that ability, because what you don't know can hurt you. And in fact, it's hurting so many people every day. And it's keeping the rest of us in the dark. It's not good.
Yeah. No.
Sure. I'm sorry to hear about your father.
No, I know. I
appreciate that.
It is shit, isn't it? Really? To be blunt.
Yeah, you got it over there too.
Yeah.
You're what is it over here with the National Institutes of Health and the CDC over there? You've got what's the name of your group? The
NHS.
National NHS, National Health Services, covering up the numbers. Yeah, and so it is very real and visceral for me. The disclosure movement is the faster we have disclosure, the faster perhaps the Palladians will allow us to have medbed technology for the masses. That'd be really nice. I understand that's where that technology, the secret space program still comes from, is the Palladians.
Yeah, because when I noticed he was in the thing, Tony Rodriguez, when he was on a few months back, he was going on about the medbeds and the reproduction of the human body, and just everything else that he went through over that 20-year period. So I get all that. I've not experienced it myself, but I understand what it was on about. And the more people like him and yourself and anybody else that comes on, like Barry Littleton, Jessica Jones, even Laura Eisenhower, you all talk pretty much of the same thing, but from a different angle. And
that was the beauty of the conference, is having all these presenters getting it from different angles, and then they're all together, and anyone questioning them together or separately. I mean, if that doesn't convince a doubter, then you're in the category, I joke, where a UFO could land on your head and you still won't believe in ETs, and you'll say the next day, wow, Brian, that was really good LSD you put in my coffee before you must have gotten us in that car wreck, because I don't know, like I had some weird hallucination. Couldn't have been ETs or a UFO.
Yeah, totally that. So I just want to say a massive thank you, Brian, for coming on. Hopefully you'll come back again soon if you're not too busy.
There's already requests in the chat.
Yes, like and subscribe, and let Nicole and Andy know that you'd love to have Brian Tseng, the Solar Bee, back on. And then I'd love to have both of you, even if you can't make it physically over the water, Andy, to join us in Florida next year at the 2025 Full Disclosure Now conference. Nicole, you'd make a great MC and hostess, and then I'd love you to be, on the ground doing interviews and live streaming this via, your platforms here with Andy. That'd be amazing.
Good.
There you go. Well, we will say yes. There is no no. There is no no.
Excellent. I have to add you to the list, the 2025 workup sheet we got.
Cool.
I will do my best to get over.
I'm telling you, you have to come in July.
I will.
We can do that, and then we can do the wrap.
15th of July.
Are we friends on Facebook yet, Nicole?
Yeah. Add me on Facebook.
Okay. All right. I might have to drop so, and I'm hitting that. I always hit that stupid 5,000 limit, but then anytime I paste something about how I'm not with her, or like slave diaper masks, and then I lose a couple people, and then that frees it up. And then I definitely have a spot for you.
It's filtering out the idiots.
Yeah. Give somebody the boot.
Yes, exactly. So a well-deserving person, but then it's getting tough. It's getting really tough. It's amazing. It's like 5,000 cool people is not enough.
No, I don't like 5,000 people, so I don't have that problem.
No, I don't. Close, but not that close. I think I got about 3.5.
I do, and then when they send me friend requests and I like them back, and I'm like, 5,000. What do I do?
Can't do nothing. I know. Yeah. Nightmare. Right, so I am going to have to end this now. I will obviously keep in touch with you as I've been doing, and we'll sort out. We'll do one for public, so it won't be members only, but we can dip into another section of the disclosure. If that's okay with you?
I love that. Yeah, any platform, it would be great.
Amazing. Right, so we have done on Friday. We have. I don't even know where I am. Where I'm there. So we have Brandon Thomas, part 2, and he's going to be talking about psychedelics and how it can open dimensions in the mind.
Awesome.
And that's my belief to it anyway. So
you can. Oh, absolutely. There's a reason why for thousands of years, shamans all across the world have been doing and citing the same things up to modern day.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Anyone who,
And then he's coming back on in 2 weeks' time with Dawn. Oh, I can't believe I forgot her name. Dawn Lester. She's from the UK.
Cool.
And she's the one that talks about health and how we're being lied to about certain things that went on in 2020 and so on. And it's just, it's all just the connection of everything. It's something else. It really is.
We're all one tight community, whether we know it or not. Like there's that 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. That's the thing. We're all like 3 degrees.
Yeah, everybody knows somebody who knows somebody.
Yeah,
we all know someone called Dave.
And we all know someone called Al.
Al, yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So I'm going to end this now. I'd love to stay on, but we've gone over the time and I've got to get up for work in the morning because it's like 10 o'clock at night here. I know it's crap. It's
9
crap.
o'clock here.
I know.
What time is it, Brian?
Yeah, 2 p.m.
It is, 2:06.
Yeah. So still, yet again, the wrong country. I don't care what time zone. I just need to be over there. Right. So
I got prepper communities for you, Andy. You just let me know. You let me know when you want to pull the trigger.
100%. So gonna end it. So Brandon Thomas part 2 talking about psychedelics. That's on Friday. Have a wonderful 48 hours and we will see you then. So take care and goodbye. Thank you.